Welcome to That's Joy, the podcast. I'm your host, Cece Calbanero, and I'll be sharing stories of miracles, God moments, and unpacking the truth behind what joy truly means. My friend, when God gives you a direct call on your life, be sure to answer it. Here's to answering my call together. Hello, and welcome back to That's Joy, the podcast. I am your host, Cece, and I'm so grateful that you hit play today. Thanks so much for your patience as we took a mini break. The last 2 weeks, we did not push out an episode, so hello, I miss y'all. But full transparency, life has been moving a million miles per hour. If you haven't caught up fully, I do have a full-time job now, in addition to all the other things that I get to do online and with the podcast. And so too many balls were juggling and dropped a quite 2 weeks worth of content for podcast. And that's just the nature of the game. And I share that in full honesty and transparency. Just because I'm like, man, I want people to know that like you have hiccups along the way. And because the podcast didn't push out 2 episodes in the last 2 weeks doesn't mean that I throw in the towel and give up and never post another podcast. You know what I mean? Someone's got to hear that today. I needed a little mental health break and reset, and sometimes something's got to give, unfortunately. It was the podcast these last 2 weeks, but holy moly, I'm so grateful for your love and grace and the fact that of all podcasts in all the land, in all the world, you hit play on this one. And I just want to say that I think that you made a very wise choice. Now, I might be biased, but I'm not solo on this episode. This week's episode, I get to share one of my very closest best friends with y'all. Tayler Jordan and I have been friends since 2019, and we had the ultimate joy of miraculously meeting in the very back row of a small church that was starting out in Austin, Texas. It was called Red Rocks Austin, and they have grown so much since 2019. But we were there when it was a little small, very small venue, pop up on Sunday mornings, pop down, break down Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. And I feel so grateful for how we met, how the Lord has been able to work in and through the both of us and allow our friendship to flourish. And my goodness, this woman is full of wisdom. I've always thought that, and she's been on the podcast before, but I needed to bring her back again because y'all gotta be blessed on a September Monday, okay? Man, you are gonna love this. If you're new around here, then you might not know. We kick off every episode with a little joyful noise. Joyful noise is our version of good news. It's the good things that are happening in the world, and my mission is to just highlight as much as I can of that. Well, this week's episode, Tayler, I call her Tay for short, is going to be sharing her joyful noise that will check the box on our joyful noise for the week. So without further ado, please welcome my very best friend, Tayler Jordan. You guys, welcome to That's Joy, the podcast. If you are new around here, then you might not know that, one, we have a guest in the house and we are in the flesh, which is so cool. But two, we kick off every episode with a little joyful noise. Now, first, I have my best friend, Tayler Jordan here, and she has already been on the podcast before. So I thought that she could actually kick us off with a little joyful noise of something good that has happened in your life.
Wait, okay. I did not see this coming.
I know.
Where do I even start? Okay, this is going to sound so crazy.
Say it.
But inconveniences are inevitable. Like, stuff is going to happen. And the other day, so last weekend, my friend Kenzie and I went to Atlanta to get our Pilates certification. And my car was making this noise, and I despise car issues, but it's inevitable. Like, it happens. Well, my car was like making this really loud noise, and it just kept getting worse. So of course I called my dad, and he's like, Taylor, you can't keep driving it with it making that noise. You need to find a mechanic. And honestly, I usually go to the car dealership, but they couldn't get me in until 2 weeks. So I texted a friend, and he recommended this mechanic. They were so amazing. I need to look up the names so that I can shout them out.
Yeah.
I can't remember right now, but Continental Collision, I'll confirm, but they're in the Nations if anybody in Asheville needs a good mechanic. But it was so seamless getting in there. And then the problem that they needed to fix, they identified it immediately. It was almost $1,000 to fix, but the blessing and the joyful noise in it of it is this.
I'm waiting. I'm like, where is it?
I'm so thankful because so randomly, not random, but the Lord, like the sweetest God wink, I had budgeted, like over budgeted this month for car repair and maintenance. And so I'd already planned ahead and made some space for the inconvenience.
Yeah.
And then also it worked out so beautifully that day that 2 of my friends could both pick me up in time from the mechanic and then take me back to get it, and it was all done in one day.
Oh, wow.
And so it could have been a lot worse.
Okay. This is just the perfect reason why we need you on today's episode. For several reasons.
I called my dad that night. I was like, okay, inconveniences are inevitable. Like, life is going to life.
Yeah.
But for life to life that day, it couldn't have happened more perfectly.
You guys, this is Tayler Jordan, who finds the joy in the middle of having to spend $1,000 on an unexpected car repair. That's just one. 2, the fact that you are the type of person who overshot the budget to make sure that you would be good is just another
Preparation
layer.
is key. But
Another
I
layer.
wasn't stranded on the side of the road. I didn't have to rent a car.
True.
So that's what I was most excited about this week, which is silly. Not silly, but that's my joyful noise.
That's some joyful noise. If we could all take a dose of that and run with it this week, we're going to be good.
Let's go.
But for those of the peeps who were like, wait, who is this person? How? Okay, will you give them a breakdown of who is Tayler Jordan in case they don't know yet?
Yeah. So we were talking about this before we started recording, but last time I was on the podcast, it was more of like a very personal experience and episode. So this time Cece was like, rein in a little bit of more of the professional side of what you do day to day. But I will say we met in Austin back in, was it 2019?
Yeah.
Okay.
2019.
It's been a minute now. And then both have moved to Nashville. But professionally, I work in the health industry, mainly personal training, which encompasses a holistic approach to training. So my purpose and passion, I truly believe that the Lord has gifted me to equip and encourage women to steward their bodies well. So the ways in which I do that are personal training and life coaching. And then also more recently, I have began working as a cellular health advisor, which I'm really, really excited about as well. But I'm learning, like, identity. It's easy for us to identify ourselves as I do this and this is who I am. And so I like to present it in the way of I have been equipped to help other women learn how to steward their bodies well.
That's
and
so
I do that through life coaching and personal training and cellular health advising.
Yeah. I love your perspective in that too, because really what it reminds me of is like, these are the gifts that God has given me and this time I'm stewarding them. You know?
Totally.
And you have such a gift at what you do. And I think that as we unpack today's episode, diving into like health and habits, you guys will see that this woman is wise. She has done the reps and all the things. And so you just know what you're talking about. And so I'm very excited to dive into today's episode because it's kind of like goes hand in hand. I feel like a lot of people who are listening, you're in a new season. And funny enough, Tayler and I went to church this morning, and what did they talk about? They talked about a new season.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about this topic and just what I would talk with y'all with Tay. And I just was like, man, a lot of people are stepping into a new season because one, a lot of people who listen are in college, you know, and you're starting up your sophomore year or your senior year of college. We've got high school girls, which is so crazy to think about, like 14-year-old girls who are listening, who are starting up a new school year.
Amazing.
And we've wrapped up our summer series now well over a couple weeks. And I'm just thinking about how so many people start off the school year, similar to how you start off New Year's, right? There's a lot of fuel in your tank and there's a lot of gas and you're like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And you hit the ground running. You have your planner that you write in every single day with all your highlighted pens and pencils and it's all beautiful. And then come that 2-week mark, that 3-week mark, there's gaps in the planner. You're not using as many colors. And what do we do to close that gap? And I literally thought about that and I was like, man, there is no better person that I know personally who can advise us in closing that gap and figuring out what does it look like to actually be consistent at something and then be consistent at multiple things once you nail down what that one something might be for you. And so we're just going to have like a friend combo as if Tay pulled up a Topo Chico on my couch and I'm like, girl, what should I do to dial in my health habits right now? So Tay, I'm curious to know from you, what are 3 kind of non-negotiable habits that you have cultivated in your life? And then 2-part, what would be your best piece of advice for someone who hasn't formed like any habits yet?
Yeah. Okay. So good. First of all, it is the month of August and the number 8 stands for new beginnings.
Okay.
And even at the beginning of this month, I felt clearly that the Lord he spoke that verse. It's in Revelation. I want to say chapter 21, verse 5. It says, behold, I'm doing a brand new thing. And so even being open to like, okay, Lord, what is the brand new thing you want to do in me? And which can sound very exciting, but also change can be very scary and brand new things can be very scary. And so having something deeper than just the habit itself, I think is the best place to start. Whether that comes from taking some time to visualize what you want yourself to look like a year from now. What do you want to say this year looked like for you? So specifically, are we talking to the girl who's starting school?
Let's say she's there,
Yeah, so a brand new season of any sort. If you can picture yourself at the end of this journey and be able to visualize, like, what does she feel like day to day? What is she accomplishing? What is she working toward? If you can identify the direction in which you're going and the person that you're becoming first and foremost. And then you're able to establish what habits do I need to embody in order to become that person.
That's good.
And so personally, I really value being a great friend and I really value showing up the best for my clients and providing an excellent service in everything that I do. And I really value being a great daughter and an aunt and a sister. All of that comes from first and foremost being an obedient and I deeply desire to please my Father in heaven and first and foremost. And so everything that I do comes from a place of understanding who I am in God and then wanting to be the best employee, the best friend, the best daughter. And so out of that, I feel this innate responsibility to, first of all, take care of my body really well, because our bodies are our temples and that we host the Holy Spirit. Like, we are holy and chosen. And once you understand those identity pieces, you want to take care of your body well. And so out of that comes wanting to make sure I'm getting enough sleep. Like, it's really important. Like, everything, all the restorative processes and all the recharging happens while we're sleeping. And it's so crazy how that's typically the first thing to go for a lot of people,
so
especially
true.
Students. Our college selves, like, I will admit, it was the first thing that I would sacrifice is a good night's sleep. So I feel like I'm probably paying for those decisions now. So to the college girlies, take it from experience. Live a little, but also prioritize your sleep.
100%.
And then as far as habits go, specifically with stewarding my body movement, it's so crazy too. I was talking to a client about this last week, and she hadn't worked out in a little bit. And she was saying how tired she feels. And oftentimes we feel like we don't have time to work out or we don't have enough energy to work out. But actually, it's like such a twisted situation because when we work out, we get more energy. And then this is going to sound maybe contradictory, but as far as taking care of my body, I've really learned how important it is to rest and play and laugh with people that I love. And I feel like a lot of times we think, I need to follow the perfect diet, or I need to follow the perfect workout program, or I've got to get my 8 hours of sleep, and we stress about these things when actually the quality of life and resting and playing, keeping those things in tandem and in balance are also very important. It took me a while to learn that.
Yeah.
But I especially wish I would have known that in my college years.
100%.
And then remind me the second part of your question.
That's so good. All of those, I'm like, oh man, they could be episodes of their own. But y'all need to be taking notes right now. The second part is, what's your best piece of advice for someone who like hasn't formed those habits? Because that was me at one point, like even not far behind when we met. Like I didn't have strong habits in my life that I did every day consistently, you know?
Yeah.
So speaking to like 2017 Cece, like, where do you start?
Yeah.
What do I do? You know?
Something that I've also been so humbly taught is that you can't do anything alone. Like you can be fired up, you can be so motivated, and you might take off from the start line pretty strong. Like you might get into mid-September and feel like you're crushing it.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is there is nothing more powerful than having accountability and people to do things alongside.
That's so good.
And we were not created to do life alone.
Yeah.
And so when you vocalize your goals to someone else, when you say, hey, I'm inviting you to keep me accountable for this thing, it changes everything. Like, I hope there's mostly girlies listening to this episode, but for example, one thing I've been putting off for a very long time is an appointment with the OBGYN and just a little annual checkup.
Totally.
I put it on the back burner for a long time, and I vocally said to someone, will you keep me accountable for scheduling this appointment? And so something that I put off for a very, very long time, I then finally did.
Totally.
And so the first thing is, like, if you have 0 habits, it's start with 3 that you know that are, and there's the classic SMART goals, which a lot of people have probably heard of, but it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and put a time on it. So really simply, like, what are some top 3 specific goals that are measurable, that make sense, they're realistic, they fit into the reality of the season of life that you're in. I think that's part of the battle, is recognizing and being okay with knowing that this is a busier season of life, so I need to have some grace for myself, or I need to probably push it a little, you know, like really recognizing the season that you're in and sharing with someone, what are those 3 things that you know that you can do, that when you see yourself a year from now, 5 years from now, what are the habits in which you need to start instilling to become that person?
So good, Tay. It's funny that you say the accountability piece is like really the biggest ticking point, because I have on here as an upcoming episode, like I think it's 3 or 4 types of accountability that you need to be successful. And it was in Rory Vaden's book, Take the Stairs, but he talked about, I'm remembering 3 off the top of my head. That is so weird. The TV just turned back on. 1 second.
That's crazy.
Was it off?
The TV looks fire, though.
That was so weird. Enemy, get out.
Not today, Satan.
Not today, in Jesus' name. Okay.
The 3, you were talking about Rory, Take the Stairs.
Yes. So there are 3 different types of accountability that he mentioned that I could remember. I think there was a 4th, but I'm going to look it up and I'm going to share it with you guys in an upcoming episode. But he talked about having a mentor, like the power of telling someone who's ahead of you what you're going to do and when you're going to do it by. And then someone beside you, like who's that best friend that you're like, hey, I need to do this thing, so hold me accountable in that. Similar to what you just shared. And then another aspect of it is who's someone that you are helping come up?
Yeah.
Who are you turning behind and lifting up? And how can you even tell them, like, hey, hold me accountable in this thing and let me hear yours too, you know?
I love that.
Yeah, it's so
like
good.
Having someone who's gone ahead of you, having someone beside you, and then having someone you're pouring into.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. And the thing is too, imagine telling, like, think about those 3 people in your life for a second. And if you don't have one of them, then think about how you can start praying for that one now. But imagine telling all those 3 people that thing that you're going to do. You're probably going to do it simply because you respect them, love them so much that you don't want to let them down. And I think that's what Tay is speaking to too, is like sometimes we have to go to a place where we'll probably let ourselves down before we let others down, just because of how massive our hearts are for these people, right? And so I love that aspect of like, begin to tell somebody what you're going to do, because I highly doubt that you're not going to want to let them down, you know?
And really prioritizing the why. Like, why is this important?
Yeah.
Like, when you have a deeper why and it's more rooted in a long-term version of yourself and vision of the life that you want and the direction that you want to go toward, you're way more likely to decide on habits that align with that and that you are actually going to stick to because it matters.
So true. That's so good. Similar to New Year's and everything that I was saying, we know that how many people fall off on New Year's because push comes to shove, things get hard, schedule conflicts will happen, I guess, and things don't work out exactly how you quote unquote planned, similar to Taylor's car situation, right? A lot of life be lifing sometimes. But here's the thing. Taylor is the queen of consistency, and I'm telling you, like, there are so many different occasions where I have been inspired simply by her day to day. One being like when we were in Austin, like during that season, you hadn't started reading the Bible too many years before that season in Austin, but I really didn't start reading the Bible consistently until we started being in community together and just naturally being more and more inspired, recognizing that we're learning together and you were constantly doing it. And I was like, dang, I know Tay's picking up her Bible every morning. And even just thinking about that in the morning, like, what are those friends that you admire and look up to? What are those things that they do every day that you admire? You can start doing those things too, you know? And so I look back and I'm like, that's just one thing. And then obviously the fitness aspect of like, I know Tay's moving her body today. And it isn't in a spirit of comparison even. I think it's more so like, I'm inspired. And so I don't ever want that to get confused. Like finding yourself comparing to your friends. I hope that you're surrounded by a circle who inspires you. Like I never feel like I'm comparing myself to Tay. I'm always like, no, she's calling me higher, because truly that's what a good friend is. And that, again, is another episode of itself. But Tay, what's the secret behind someone who shows up so well and so consistently in so many different areas of your life? Like, is there something that you could speak to?
Thank you, first of all.
Yeah.
That is the sweetest compliment, and I don't take that lightly. I will say humbly, on the side of I am not perfect, and the side that my tendency is to be too rigid. That is the where I could be better, is to learn to lighten up and live a little bit, which is why I appreciate you so much as a friend. And so I want to preface it with that, is like my tendency can almost be to be too rigid. However, there are some things that are non-negotiables for me, and that's spending time with the Lord. Like, I know that I cannot, and it's impossible for me to be the best version of myself and do anything apart from Him with me. And I want to make sure that His voice is the loudest in my life. And that's a non-negotiable. It's the most important thing in my life, is that I am hearing clearly from the Lord that His opinion is what matters the most. His voice is what I'm hearing the most. I'm seeking His voice the most. And so starting my day that way, I'm not saying everyone should start their day in the Word and with their journal and with their coffee. You can spend time with the Lord any time of day, but for me, if each day is a blank canvas, that's the primer for me.
Yeah, that's good.
And out of that place of peace and joy and knowing that the creator of the universe is with me, I can then go out in peace and joy come what may. And I don't always do that perfectly, but that is a huge priority and something that I know I cannot function without. And the second thing, like I mentioned in the beginning, is because of that, I want to do my best to take care of everything that he's given me. Everything that I have is a gift from him.
Yeah.
And so moving my body and making sure that I'm taking care of the temple in which he dwells is also of utmost importance. And so I think the consistency and the non-negotiables come from a place of wanting nothing more than to get to the end of my life and meet Jesus face to face and to see him say, I'm so proud of the decisions that you made.
Yeah.
And so I guess with vocalizing all of that, maybe it comes down to like just living for an audience of one, you know? It's
That's
like
good.
even checking in to say like, Holy Spirit, what do you say about this? Or do you say that I should sleep a little longer, or should I get up and go for a walk? Like really being able to check in to be able to acknowledge, like, am I making decisions that are honoring God, or am I doing this to please someone else? And because everything that we do is from love, out of a place of love.
That's good.
And so if we are living love,
Yeah.
that would be the motivation.
Yeah.
So the consistency piece, the full circle, to put a bow on that.
Yeah.
I really value work ethic and I value discipline, and I don't often make decisions based on if I feel like doing it or not. And when you have a holy conviction and you're hearing clearly from the Lord, it becomes effortless to do the hard thing.
Right.
Because you know it's pleasing to the Lord.
100%. Even everything of what you're saying, I'm like, oh, dang. It's actually like, am I consistently showing up to hear from the voice of God? Because if you are consistently doing that, then I think it's ticking every single other box of that habit that you need to be doing that day.
Right.
You know, like you said, like you might need more sleep.
Right.
Like you might need 9 or 10 to really get that deep sleep. I didn't even recognize the quality of sleep until a couple of years ago. I would always say that I got 8 hours of sleep until I think it was the Aura Ring and you and Jay talking about like the actual quality of your sleep, where I was like, well, dang, I probably am not getting an 8 hours of quality sleep. I should probably sleep a little bit longer when I do have the opportunity to do that. But everything that you said is just so spot on, and your life is a display of all of the words that you speak. So it's like it's in line. You know what I mean? Like it's no accident that your source and your foundation is set on him first thing in the morning. It's because of that you get to the car place and you receive a bill, and it makes no sense.
Thank goodness I'm saved for this.
It is literally that, y'all. So if you're wondering how you can have that perspective, it's like putting God first, like always.
And I know we didn't even plan to talk about this, but it really helps you to take a step back and recognize and reflect on what voices are the loudest, whether that's your social media feed and looking at everyone else's life, or what other people's opinions, like whose voice is the loudest, and whose lead are you following?
That's good. That's really good. And it really does matter. Like whose voice is the loudest matters so much, because I do remember there was a time, again, not many years ago, like this was, I think, 2021, where I still slept with my phone right next to my bed, and there were countless nights where I would scroll naturally just because it's so easy, right? To just like, oh, I'm just going to be on Insta while I lay down until I get like even sleepier. And then 40 minutes pass and you're like, oh gosh, I'm still on TikTok and it's working and their algorithm works, and that's why I'm addicted to this thing. You know what I mean? Like they're studying how we can not put this phone down, and it's working. And so we've got to have those habits in place that can make sure that we're doing what we can do on our end to make sure that we're hearing the voice of God as much as we can, you know?
And since you mentioned that, that's one of the easiest, most actionable things you can start doing now as far as immediate habits is put your phone to bed, not beside you.
Right.
Like, just put your phone to bed, then you go to bed. That's like especially one of the most powerful things that you could start doing.
I always tell the girlies, if you've been listening to That's Joy, that the Hatch alarm clock has been like my greatest purchase, because I plug up my phone at the feet of my bed where I have to get up out of bed to grab my phone.
Yeah.
And that has been absolutely game changer. So somebody's got to do that today. I did want to shift into a couple like random kind of rapid fire health questions, because I think that's fun. And there are a lot of girlies, I keep saying girlies, there's probably like 4 guys who listen, but shout out to y'all who have these similar questions that I feel like I wish I could ask a friend who like knows this stuff, these things, you know? Okay. So what's the best workout to do, and is there one?
Oh, that's a great question. I think as far as being able to define something as a best workout, it has to be something that you look forward to and that you feel challenged in and that feels honoring to your body. And so this is going to look different for everyone.
Yeah.
For me personally, I love weight training. I will hopefully be the 95-year-old great-grandmother who is still trying to pump some iron.
I see it.
I am lovingly agree because it challenges me in different ways than weight training, and they work so well in tandem together. And then I love rollerblading. That's more of like the restorative aspect of what I really love. And then I want to be a tennis mom one day so bad. So tennis is also another challenge for me. So those are 4 very different examples of workouts that I truly look forward to. And I say all that too, but under the same breath, I remember a day that I was doing workouts that I did not look forward to, and it felt like pulling teeth to get me there. And I never feel that way now. Like, there's never a workout that I don't look forward to. And I recognize that is such a blessing, and I share that only to encourage you that it does exist. So it's possible to find something that you really look forward to, whether it could be anything. As long as you're moving your body, you're challenging yourself, you're having things to work toward and benchmarks, and it feels life-giving for your body. And it doesn't have, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, but your favorite workout and the best one workout for you will not look like your cousin or your mom or your best friend. And that's okay. If Zumba is it for you, go for it, please.
And send us video.
Literally, with some salsa dancing, if that's the way you want to sweat and move and groove, that could be your best workout.
It's true.
But I would define the one best workout as something that you really get stoked over. Like, I want to see your pupils light up when you talk about this workout. That's the one best workout.
That is such a sweet answer, and it's so good. Y'all, tell us in the DMs like what your workout is when you figure this out. We would love to know.
Yeah.
Second question, what should I do if I constantly feel tired? I know a lot of people struggle with this one. So this is not just high school, college girl, but a lot of America, honestly.
Yeah. This is probably a heavier response or a more in-depth response
Say it, girl.
We're looking for. But what I'm learning as a cellular health advisor is that it all comes down to the cellular level. And within our cell is the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell.
Take us!
And that is what produces energy. And a lot of times our cells are inflamed. And so it can't get the receptors that it needs in order to produce that energy. And our bodies need energy to heal. That's why a lot of people are struggling with so many autoimmune diseases. And so energy comes first and foremost from a cellular level, and inflammation can be caused through diet. It can be stress and environmental stress like mold and toxins. So even if you're changing your beauty products, you can still feel tired because that cell is still inflamed.
Right.
And so simple ways, though, that you can start to prioritize your energy is obviously a really good, healthy sleep hygiene routine. And sleep is where it's almost the best way I think the best way I explain this, from my experience, people have understood it the best with this explanation. But it's almost like I'm embarrassed to admit this, actually.
Say
Have
it.
y'all ever, maybe your listeners are too young for thumb drives. Thumb drives?
Oh, flash drives? We call them flash drives.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
hopefully y'all know what a flash drive still is. I don't even know anything comparable to that now because we got the cloud and you just buy more storage.
That's true.
But with a thumb drive, what'd you call it?
Flash drive.
A flash drive.
Maybe thumb drive south. I don't know. Like a southern
it's
thing.
a Mississippi thing, college. But a flash drive you would put into your computer. You would download all the information from the flash drive onto the computer, and then you have a fresh flash drive to put anything else on. So at night, that's what's happening with your sleep. You're plugging in your flash drive, it downloads everything, it recharges, and then you've got a fresh thing in the next morning.
What a cool perspective.
Right? And so a lot of times if we're not fully emptying that flash drive, it stacks up all this information, and then your stress cup becomes smaller. And so typically what you could not feel overwhelmed by is very overwhelming, and you feel anxious and you feel sad and you feel stressed and all of these things because you have no longer emptied off that flash drive.
Yeah.
And so all that to say that that's why it's so important to prioritize a good sleep regimen, which I know can be hard, especially in college, because you've got the dorms and so many fun things going on. But also, like, it becomes that balance of being and wisdom of checking in of, like, actually, do I need to prioritize sleep, or is it better that I get up early to go to that workout?
Right.
And honestly, seeing your morning routine as a privilege of having a good night routine, because you can't have a good morning routine if you're not getting to bed all the time.
Come on.
So as far as energy goes, and then I get so passionate about this because it becomes like such a spiral, because then you get so tired by 2, you have coffee, and that totally resets your circadian rhythm, so it thinks it's 6 a.m. again. So then it takes you that much longer to wind down from your caffeine. So if at all you can avoid having caffeine past at least 10 or 11 a.m., that's going to help to not make your body think that it's morning again. And so those are practical sleeps, but good sleep hygiene is so important. Avoiding stimulants. I think a lot of people don't even realize that there's caffeine in soda and tea. Even if you're
realize in poppy there's some caffeine.
Yeah. So even there's so many things. So a quick Google search of like things that have caffeine in it, that would be my first best tip of, I know it sounds counterintuitive if you're struggling with energy, but especially it'll take a little bit, but you need to retrain that circadian rhythm. Sunlight first thing in the morning is super helpful. Even going for a walk instead of grabbing that second cup of coffee is super helpful when trying to re-energize. Like a 10-minute walk will give you more energy and help you to sleep better than that second cup of coffee any day, and you'll save $10.
Literally. Wait, that's so good. You guys, if you're like geeking out right now about all of her tips and stuff, one, we're going to have her share everything about how you can plug in and learn more, especially when it comes to like the cell department that she was unpacking. I don't know about you, but I'm like, wait, what do I need to plug in. I need to know more. It's just so intriguing. So listen to everything, and you're going to follow her on Instagram when we're done with this. But let's go to another question here. How can I maintain a healthy diet and manage my weight?
Oh, that's loaded too.
That is loaded. These are loaded.
Yeah.
You could just like, I know if there's a brief answer.
Right. Well, I will say, especially for the college girlies.
Yeah.
It is so hard.
Totally.
But again, I think preparation is key. Thinking ahead, being prepared. Especially if you're in a busier season. I know it sounds like an investment, but truly, like, investing in a meal prep company and just having some meals prepared would be helpful. I love chomps. I know you hate pickles, but pickles, like, I love having things that are easy to grab, that, like, you want to set yourself up for success. And so being prepared, even if that means spending a little bit extra money on a meal prep service, but having some quality meals. I know there's probably a variety of people that we're speaking to, but in any season of life, I have a mom who just became an empty nester, and I've made the same recommendation for her of like, get some meals that are already prepped so you're not even having to think about what do I need to buy at the store or those types of things.
Totally.
And so will you re-ask that question again?
How do I maintain a healthy diet and manage my weight?
Maintaining a healthy diet comes from preparation.
That's good.
Thinking ahead.
Yeah.
I feel like people make the most like detrimental decisions when they just are starving and grabbing the first thing that they see, or having a craving and they just grab what's convenient. So having some things on hand is super helpful. For protein, I know you also don't love tuna, but I keep cans of tuna. I keep chomp sticks. You can link those for them.
Yeah,
I
for
love
sure.
the turkey sticks. I keep a powdered green supplement. Especially like if I'm traveling through the weekend and haven't had time to go to the store, I keep frozen organic vegetables like frozen broccoli, frozen cauliflower rice, frozen green beans. I get a lot of this at Costco.
Yeah.
And then also, as far as like a carb and fat sources, nut butters, having some frozen fruit, having some rice cakes, like having some things on hand that I know I can put together a carb, fat, protein, and some type of veggie source, whether that's sauerkraut or pickles or kimchi or something that I can still put together regardless of how long I've been out of town. I can come home and know. Even steamed packaged beets I get at Costco that are organic, and still be able to know that I can come home and put together a meal. It's not going to be the most amazing thing, but I know that I'm not going to have to go to Chipotle.
Right. No, that's really good, Tay. And a lot of these things that she has shared, I have done since knowing Tay too. Like even Element. Like I love that now. The chocolate caramel one is so good.
So good.
Ordered another box because I'm like, that's such a good sweet treat where I don't feel like I need ice cream, but I'm like, this is a good alternative, you know?
Yeah.
So it's being mindful, I feel like, is what it is too.
Yeah. Thinking ahead.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, and you spoke a lot already to the quality of sleep. You answered the questions there. This one I'm very curious about. If you could tell your younger self something when it came to health as a whole, specifically to everything that we've been talking to, what would you tell her?
The first thing that comes to my mind is it being unattached to what I look like. When health completely changed for me, when I was able to see it as an innate responsibility to take care of my body as a gift from the Lord.
That's so good.
And to truly understand that everything that we have is a gift from God, and He's asked us to steward everything that we have to honor Him. And we hear this time and time again with finances, especially. It's like steward your finances to honor the Lord, and be responsible with relationships. Steward your relationships well. Steward your time well. And when I was able to really see, like, wait, my body is also a gift from the Lord. And when I started making decisions that honored that, I then, like, the physical side of things are a byproduct. If we are honoring the Lord in the decisions that we're making to eat a healthy meal versus junk food or what's convenient, it's a byproduct that you have glowy skin and nice hair.
And get good sleep.
Yeah. And so it was a shifting of priority. And so I wish I could tell her, which I'm so thankful for my story and everything that I've learned the hard way. We didn't mention this, but my experience with bodybuilding, and that was after an experience with an eating disorder, which actually took place in college. So I'm so thankful for the opportunity to speak to you girlies in college, because it is very hard. And I was so trying to grasp control, because I could see the evidence of the decisions that I was making show up physically. But if I could have understood then that the decisions I made, if I was seeing it through the lens of honoring the Lord versus just trying to look a certain way, to whether it was get a guy's attention or fit in with a certain group of girls or any of those things, what mattered most is that I was honoring the Lord with the decisions that I was making in the body in which he dwells. So I wish that I could have explained that to her.
Yeah.
But also I wouldn't have the opportunity to sit here and explain this to your listeners today too. So
Totally.
I'm really, really thankful for learning the hard way so that I can be a voice to tell you that your body is a temple and you are so much more than what you look like, and you are beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can look in the mirror and know that Jesus is grabbing your cheeks hand in hand and looking you into the eyeballs and saying, honey, I knit you together so specifically and beautifully, and everything you are is perfect and wonderful, and I love you just the way that you are.
Come on. That is so well said, Tay. And I have a feeling that it's not just a college girly that this is resonating with right now. I think that a 40-year-old woman, a 50-year-old woman found this part, and it's speaking directly to what she needs to hear today. And it isn't too late to do any of the things that we have talked about. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Final guest question that y'all know if you plug into this podcast is that we ask every single guest, what does joy mean to you? But since we've asked Tayler this question before, we've been asking two-time guests, instead of that specific question, what does joy mean to you? What does joy mean to you in this season?
I love this question. Wow. I'm learning in this season, which we also learned about seasons.
I know.
Today. I'm learning more and more that there is joy when conditions look really bad, and there's joy when conditions look really good. Mm-hmm. But I'm learning so much about the beauty and the joy that's found when conditions don't look great. And the dependence that I have on the Lord, and being like waking up each day and knowing that I can't get through the day without him. It sounds awful, but it has brought me so much joy and trust. And yeah, so in this season particularly, I'm finding so much joy in dependence on him, complete dependence, and knowing that he's got every detail, and looking for the evidence of his voice and his goodness all around.
Yeah.
I just love it. It's like a great adventure to see where he's going to show up each day, because I know he has to show up.
Right.
And
that's so
yeah,
good.
I think that that's what's most joyful for me right now.
You are living that out so beautifully, and I'm so grateful that you've shared all of your knowledge, every ounce of everything you got on this episode. I know that you do everything with excellence, and I'm sure every single person who's listening is like, wait, dang, how do I be friends with Tay? Well, she's taken. I'm kidding. She's actually single if you have a brother who meets this level.
Lots of best friends, but
yes.
Looking for the husband.
Exactly. We need one special man. So please DM her your phone number. I'm just kidding.
I was like, yeah.
You're like, where did you go with this?
What she said.
No, curious to know, Tay, how can we show up for you? And please share like the specifics, because y'all, she's got this ebook out that you need to literally run and purchase. It's going to be in the show notes, but I'm going to let her explain all the ways. Okay. Even if the sell step, like, can they get info from you on that? Just share everything that you can.
Okay. I'm so excited to have gotten to talk with you guys today. And yeah, that's been something that's been on my heart so much lately, is like I obviously can't work one-on-one with everyone. And so I've been really praying about other ways to work with other women and help other women and equip other women to steward their bodies well without being in person with them. Yeah. And so I launched Essentials with Tay a couple of months ago, which has been incredible. And that is more geared toward the beginner's guide to weight training. If you find weight training intimidating, or if you have felt overwhelmed by, like, whatever you've been trying to do and really trying to focus on the quality of what you're doing versus on continuing to do more and more and more.
Yeah.
And so that program is out and available, and it's been amazing. And October 1st, I have another version of, it's called Essentials to Go. And this is actually not specifically, but in big part for the college girl, because all you need is a mat and a pair of dumbbells to do it.
That's amazing.
And so Essentials to Go is launching on October 1st, so be on the lookout for teasers and more information about that. But it has videos for every exercise as well. It's literally the most convenient and easy to follow.
Yeah.
And I'm so pumped about that. So I'm really eager to get to share that. So those are the two biggest things, obviously following along on social media. And then, if anybody has more questions about the cellular health program, you can DM me about that for sure.
Sweet. Well, you can find her at Tay Jordan on Instagram. And you guys, I'm putting that ebook in the show notes, so you need to grab it no matter where you are too. Like, I bet that there's somebody that it could be of value to in your life. I feel like that's such a sweet way that you can say, hey, I was just thinking of you, for someone that you love and that wants to grow in this way too. So go and do that. But Tay, thank you so much for being here. Oh my goodness, was that not fire or what? I am so grateful for everything that Tay had to share. What I love so much about her is that she's equal parts wisdom and faith. Like, she comes into every realm of her life, whether it be work or friendships or family, and she brings her faith at a full level, at her full capacity, no matter where she's at. And you see that translate through the community events that she holds with Essentials University, through her new job, through her friendships. I mean, I can go on, but I know that y'all are blessed by all of the wisdom that she shared. And I hope that a lot of these little habit things that she shared with us are things that you run with, that they don't just stop right here, but they continue to be something that you lean into and reach for in the moments where you know that you should be growing towards who God's calling you to be. And it won't always be easy, and you will fall. In fact, I have fallen, and I continue to fall week after week, but it doesn't mean that I don't get back up. So my encouragement is to you is to receive all of the information that you shared and not allow it to become a sense of overwhelm for you. Rather, I hope that it becomes a spark of inspiration for you to really allow the change to happen in your life. Because friends, you're right on time, and it's never too late, and you are right where you need to be. Someone's got to hear that today. You were right where you need to be. God knew before you were even born that you would be right where you are right now. Right here, right now. With given all of your circumstances, God knew it. He knew it. Psalm 139 tells us that. So we get to believe that. And I hope and pray that these words would not just linger, but penetrate the deepest parts of your heart and soul to evoke that change. Because faith without works is dead, right? So I hope that you put these things into action. And I just pray that it blesses you. Thank you for listening all the way through. If there's a certain part of this episode that you really, really loved, man, I'd love to know what that is. Shoot me a text at 615-813-4813. You can join the Joy Corner by subscribing to my newsletter at that'sjoypodcast.com. You can also go to the show notes, and I got a little link in there for you to quickly click on that. Friends, if you're not following me on social yet, be sure to follow me at CCALBONERO on Instagram and on TikTok, and you can follow That's Joy, the podcast too. If you've not yet subscribed, rated, or left a review for That's Joy, it would mean the world if you took 2 minutes to run to Apple, write in a little review on how this podcast has influenced you or impacted you in any way, and drop a 5 stars. Immediately after that, run right over to Spotify and drop a 5 stars there. I can't tell you enough how much that means to me. So thank you times a million for going the extra mile. I appreciate it more than I can say. I'll never leave an episode without saying, if you have even the smallest desire to meet the creator of the universe, or if you've already been saved but you're not really free, I want to invite you to sit at the table of plenty with me and so many others. I'm telling you, there is abundance here. There is joy here. And friends, God is for you. He is for you. He is for you. He is for you. All you have to do is invite him into your heart right now. He's waiting for you. He wants to meet with you. And friend, I am so proud of you. If you just made this decision, I'd love to know you. Shoot me a text to that number in the show notes so I could pray for you. I love you tons. And until next time, I'll talk to y'all next time. Thank you so, so much for being here.